Hello and welcome to my review of the Genestealer Cults Magus model. Now this is the female version. You can get a male version that came in the one of the box sets a while ago. It also comes in the Brood Coven with the Patriarch. So there are a couple of ways of getting a Magus now. She will cost you £15 like all of the other single characters in the Genestealer Cult army. Bit fiddly to put together because this staff is just held on by kind of like her wrist there, and also that's a bit tricky to pull off, but everything else goes together quite well. Lots and lots of detail on this model. If you can see, there's detail on her face there and on her eyes. On her arms and this big hood, and some detail there. I've yet to fill that in a bit, make that a bit smoother and seamless. I'll probably just bung some glue in there and that'll melt that gap together. But that's her rod or staff with a little Genestealer Cult symbol on it. She's got some really long legs. Legs just carry on forever. And then I've given her the skull bowling ball. If you want, you could have given her the knife. This dagger, this ceremonial dagger type thing, instead of the skull. That would just go there. But I think it's something new and something interesting just for her to hold a skull. So there you go. Let's show you some size comparisons. So next to like the Clamavus, she's way taller than the Clamavus look, especially with her hood. She's a tall model actually. This Magus. Next to the Jackal Alphas, taller than Jackal Alphas, if you can see that. And then next to some Imperial models like the Space Marine, which is taller than the Space Marine. But a Primaris, I think he's just a little bit taller than her. Yeah, he is taller than her, look. So there you go. Hope that helps. What I'm going to do now is just go through all of the rules and things for her. So she is an HQ choice. You'll find her in your Genestealer Cult Codex, 8th edition, the new one. She's a power points cost of a 4, which is quite straightforward for a lot of HQ choices in the Codex, but a points cost of 80. Now she can take a couple of familiars. They'll cost you 12 points each if you want to give her some familiars. Such as this little dude. He's pretty cool. He's from the Biophagus. So you could give her a couple of familiars. Her stat line reads movement of 6 inches, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 3+, strength and toughness both 3, 4 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 8 and a save of 5+. So quite a straightforward stat line. Weapon skill, ballistic skill quite good at 3+ though. She's a single model armed with an auto pistol, Cultists Knife and Force Stave. It may be accompanied by up to 2 familiars at power rating of +1. Now all of those weapons are free, so you don't need to buy. You don't need to pay anything more than the 80 points of what she costs. Her auto pistol, same as all the other auto pistols for Genestealer Cult Army, range 12 inches, pistol 1, strength 3, AP 0 and a damage of 1. The Cultist Knife is a strength of the user, which in this case will be free, and a damage of 1, but each time the bearer fights, it can make 1 additional attack with this weapon. That's pretty good. So you've got 3 attacks normally, then when she fights she gets 4. Force Stave. Strength is +2, so that's strength 5, AP -1 and a damage of D3. So that's a bit more beefier. So you go for your 4 attacks or go for your 3 attacks with a potential of damage of 3 there. Abilities, she has Cult Ambush, Unquestioning Loyalty, and then Spiritual Leader. So each cult unit other than Psychers within 6 inches of any friendly Cult Magus models at the start of your opponent's psychic phase can attempt to deny 1 psychic power that targets during that phase as if they were themselves a psyker. That's pretty good. So just because she's a spiritual leader, you can attempt to deny 1 psychic power. That's pretty good. Familiars. If a Magus is accompanied by any familiars, then once per game at the end of its controlling player's psychic phase, its familiars can lend it an additional power. If they do so, the Magus can immediately attempt to manifest 1 additional psychic power. The death of a familiar is ignored for the purposes of morale tests. Familiars are considered to have the character keyword for the purposes of shooting attacks. She's a psyker, so you definitely want to have some familiars there because you want that additional psychic power. So she's a psyker. A Magus can attempt to manifest one psychic power in each friendly psychic phase and attempt to deny one psychic power in each enemy psychic phase. It knows the smite power and 2 psychic powers from the Broodmind discipline. The keywords is Tyranids, Genestealer Cults, Infantry, Character, Psyker, Magus and Infantry Familiar. So her psychic powers, I might as well just go through them. From the Broodmind discipline, you've got Mass Hypnosis, has a warp charge value of a 7. If manifested, select an enemy unit within 18 inches of and visible to the psyker. Until the start of your next psychic phase, the target cannot fire Overwatch. Fights last in the fight phase, even if it charged, and must subtract 1 from its hit rolls. That's pretty good, Mass Hypnosis. Mind Control, it has a warp charge value of a 7. If manifested, select an enemy model within 12 inches of the psyker and roll at 3d6. If the score is less than that model's leadership characteristic, nothing happens, but if it equals or exceeds, then that model can immediately shoot another enemy unit of your choice or make a single close combat attack against it, as if it were part of your army. Models cannot attack themselves, but they can attack other members of their unit. That's really fun and really will mess with, well, the mind of your opponent, I suppose. Psionic Blast. It has a warp charge value of a 5. If manifested, select an enemy unit within 18 inches and visible to the psyker and roll 2d6. If the result is less than the highest leadership characteristic in that unit, it suffers 1 mortal wound. Otherwise, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. That's pretty awesome. Mental Onslaught. It has a warp charge value of a 6, and if manifested, you select a model within 18 inch of and visible to the psyker. Each player then rolls a d6 and adds their model's leadership characteristic to their result. If your score is higher, the enemy model's unit suffers 1 mortal wound. If the selected model is still alive, you then repeat this process, each player rolling d6 and adding their respective leadership until either the selected model is destroyed or you fail to inflict 1 mortal wound by having a scorer higher than your opponent's. That's awesome, so you can keep going with that one. Psychic Stimulus has a warp charge value of a 6, and if manifested, select a friendly Genestealer Cult unit within 18 inches of the psyker, and then until the start of your next psychic phase, that unit can charge even if it advanced, and they always fight first in the fight phase, even if they didn't charge. If your opponent has units that have charged or that have a similar ability, then alternate choosing units to fight with, starting with the player whose turn it is taking place. And finally, her last psychic power is Might from Beyond. It has a warp charge value of a 7. If manifested, select a friendly Genestealer Cults infantry or biker unit within 18 inches of the psyker. Add 1 to the strength and attacks characteristics of all models in that unit until the start of your next psychic phase. So pretty good psychic powers there, especially if you add a couple of familiars with her. Then you can get an extra one on top of the 2 that she already knows, on top of Smite. She's very, very potent psyker. Her keywords are Tyranids, Genestealer Cults, Infantry, Character, Psyker, Magus. And keywords for familiars is Infantry and Familiar. And that's all I wanted to say about the Genestealer Cults Magus. Lovely model. We've now got 2 of them, so you can pick and choose, or you can have more than 1. Very, very potent psychers, really going to mess with your opponent. If you like psychic powers, have a couple of these Maguses on the board, and it's really going to disrupt your opponent's force. Anyway, what do you guys think of her and the model and the rules? Put it in the comments below. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. For the Norn Queen.